Good morning, welcome. It's early this morning, as you can see via the clock. It's 4 a.m. We're going to do something different today. We're not actually going trout fishing. It's early August and it's forecast for very hot. So what we're going to do locally at the shore, the mackerel have arrived. So what we're going to do is go down for first light, which is about 5 a.m. and we're going to try and catch the mackerel. We're going to keep them. We're going to cook them later on. So hopefully we'll get one or two. The method we're going to use today mainly is a slide and float method, where we target mackerel one at a time on a spinning rod, using mackerel, a slight bit of mackerel strip for bait, so they fight well. We'll try that and we'll see how we get on. I love this time in the morning to come out fishing. It's nice and peaceful, not many people about. Sunrises can be spectacular. So we're here on the West Pier. It's a longish wooden pier. You've got Camas Pier on the far side, which you can't get access to now, and in between the two piers is the River Blythe, Port of Blythe. So we'll get set up. We can try a few spots along the pier, fish on the outside of the pier for the mackerel, casting onto the beach side. So we'll get set up and we'll see how we get on. Here we go. That's it. Not sure if the camera can see the float yet. It's I cast about 20 yards out, 25, and the float's cocked there now. You can see it. So that's just bobbing along. There's the first take. Float just shot under. They fight well, the mackerel. When you're fishing them one to one, like one at a time, rather than a string of feathers, they fight well on the floats. Morning. Morning. Oh, there's our first one. Yeah. Just come. So there you go, first one. So this is the bait I'm using on the rig today. It's just the silver part of the belly of a mackerel, so you can see it's got a little bit of flesh on it, but the mackerel love it. You just dangle this, just hook it through once on the hook. So we'll just clip this onto the end of there, like that. Let that dangle. That's it, floating nicely. Just had a little dip there. Oh, missed him. Slacking the line. Trouble with the side wind, you get a bit of slack in the line, you can miss them. took straight away as well. If these grew to about £6, you would never get them in. They're great sporting fish. They only fight well, but they taste good as well. There you go. Lovely fish. There's the silver bit. I'm just hooking it through the top. This is a trout hook I'm using. It's fairly sturdy but small. So that's the bait. Taking the slack up. You see where that wind coming from left to right, it's putting a bow in the line. It's just £8 mono I'm using, the main line. But the wind can be a bit awkward when you're striking because of the belly in the line. So we'll go through the setup. It's fairly simple, just a spinning rod, a small spinning reel loaded with £8 trilene mono. We've then got on the main line we'd do a stop knot, and then you have a small bead slides up. The float is a cigar type float. It's got a hole down the centre and it slides up and down the line. This is how you can adjust your depth, whether you want to be at 4 foot, 9 foot, whatever you want to be. And then that's down to another bead where the float hits it, small swivel, and then a small ball sinker just to cock the float, another swivel, and then I've got about 3 foot of £8 fluorocarbon. I like fluorocarbon, that's down to the hook, and it's the fluorocarbon is invisible in the water, so I use it for me trouting, but it's perfect for this. So the mackerel don't see the mono. So that's basically it, and you can adjust your depth from anything from whatever you want to be, 5 foot, 6 foot, 12 foot, whatever. So that's how it works. So we'll go through the setup. Once you've put your line through your rings, first thing you put on your line is a small bead. Then you put your cigar float, then a bead at the bottom of the float for a stop, small swivel, and then the length of about, say, a couple of foot of mono, and then you put your small ball weight which cocks your float. You have to match the weight to the float obviously, then a swivel, and then this is your fluorocarbon hook length. Now a tip here is, if the length between your swivel and the ball swivel, your fluorocarbon has to be shorter than the length of that, so it doesn't, when it flaps over when you cast, it doesn't tangle. That stops your tangles. So you want it shorter than between the ball weight and the swivel stop. So the next bit, which is people ask, is how to put the sliding stop knot on that, which is obviously critical, because this is what you can slide it up and down your line, and it gives you your depth to your bait. So if the water's shallow, you can shallow it right up to the float, and if you're down to say 15 foot even, you can move it up and down the line. So I'll show you how to do that. So here's my main line. What I've done, I've got a bit of black mono here to show you, but you can use obviously your clear whatever. So main line here is £8. I normally use £12 or £15 for the stop knot. Ideally power gum's the best because it's a soft material, but most people just have the mono, so they do it with that. So this is a piece of black mono, so you can see what I'm doing. So you start off by just making a curve, just like so, like that, and then you put that up against your main line, and then you go through four or 5 times, just over the line and through the loop, like so. So you basically have that, and then you wet it, and then pull it down, pull it fairly tight because you want tension on it, and then you can snip it off. Sometimes leave a little tags. And there you have your sliding knot. Now that's under tension, but I can slide it up or down, which is obviously what you have to be able to do. So when that goes through the line and the weight pulls the float down, that stop knot hits the top of the bead, and then that's what gives you your depth. Right, I'm about 8 foot depth at the minute because it's low tide. So, but obviously as the tide comes up the high, you can go 10-12 foot if need be. But at the minute you don't want to go too deep because you'll hit the bottom with a bait. I'm going to take just as I move the float. They seem to be here in numbers this morning anyway, which is good. There you go, you can see there the mackerel strip. And there you go, you can see the mackerel strip, which it's took. It's just a little hook caught in the top lip. So happy days. I hope that the camera there, I hope it's light enough there now for the camera to see the float. Terns are screaming. They've been feeding on the sand eels on the beach and the sprats. There's a take. Oh, I think you missed it. Plonker. Good take that one. It's just shot straight under. So you can see, hopefully, there's me stop knots just coming into me top ring there now. So that's the depth to the bait once it's under the water. There's the bait, there's the little weight, and then the slide. Sometimes you get a couple of little bumps and then it'll shoot away, and then other times it's just gone, just the float's buried. like that, just like that. Good timing. Whoa, it's pulling. Oh, there's the sprats jumping out the water, obviously chasing them. Whoosh. There they are, sprats. There it is, shining on the top. Job. Some of the other lads are catching on the spinner. So that's a single spinner you're using?
Spinner, right?
Yeah. So he's catching on that method. And I think you're fishing the float method, aren't you, as well?
Float, yeah.
You've had how many you had now? A couple?
2.
Lovely. Well done.
Fishing at 68 foot depth.
That's the same as what I've got, about 8 foot. There's the sun just rising there now. Beautiful morning and fish about, so we're happy bunnies. So just clipping it through the top like so. Obviously you can use different methods to catch a mackerel, depends on how you want to do it. You can use a spinner, just a single spinner, which is fine. You get a good fight off them, and other people who want plenty mackerel maybe for bait, or if they want a lot to eat, they fish with feathers, but I prefer the float method. It's much more fun. Oof. Shot away at that. One. Well, I'm just fishing on the bend of the pier here, just on the corner. Obviously you can see on the end there's quite a few people fish on the very end into the mouth of the river. They tend to fish with feathers and spinners on the end of there, but the guys who float fish normally fish around this area, around the bend, and if it's higher tide, down to the straight part of the pier on the outside, and it can be very productive. Get quite busy on the end of the pier. All the lads who are spinning or using strings of feathers. What happens is normally first light's really deadly because the sand eels and sprats in the dark come closer to the shore, and the mackerel obviously know that, and they actually target them early in the morning before the sun gets really bright. Normally after about a couple of hours they tend to go off, so the best times that there's a take. Oof. The best times obviously the first 2 hours of daylight, and the last 2 hours of dusk can be really productive as well. Whoa. fish for them singly like this, you get this bit sport out of them. They actually fight, you know, rather than 3 and 4 together on a string of feathers where they're fighting against each other. It's much more fun. It's lovely to see that float dive under. So I've got a priest in my bag. I just quickly dispatch them. If I wasn't going to eat them, then I would obviously just return them straight away. Right, so I've used my strip I brought down, so I'm going to fillet one of the mackerel I've just caught for some more strip. So I just want the white bit. So don't make a mess all over the pier, leaving blood and guts and snots everywhere. Do it on here, and then you can keep it all. You'll want to just get a thin strip. That's like that. That's it. And then we'll put that, we'll just cut this up into strips and we'll use it. And then when we're finished, this plastic bag that can go in with our fish, and then we haven't left any mess all over the pier. It's important, otherwise the piers get shut. That's the culprit of the tiny little taps on the float. You could barely pull it under. Little coolies. The bait's nearly the size of the fish, but they're hungry feeders. Pretty little fish. Colours on that, beautiful. We'll get them back. This is a good way to, if you've got kids, to get your kids into fishing. They can fish the float. Mackerel, once they're in, if there's numbers of them, then you're going to get takes, you know. Some days they're not here, obviously, depends if the feed are here, but great way of getting kids involved into fishing. Not expensive, just a spinning rod, spinning reel, a float set up, cheap as chips really. Great fun. Oh, it's a tick. Oh, it shot away. Oh, this did. Got him this thing though. Didn't get a second chance. Busting bait there now. There's that little trout hook just in the scissors. It's actually snaffled the bait. I'm just trying to keep that that line as tight as I can. There you go, because it's easier to contact them once they take it. If you've got a big belly, you'll just strike into nothing, fresh air. Oi! That one's gone. What a fight off it anyway. Let's try again. Oh, it's ravaged me bait. It's nearly cut it in two. Oh, missed it again. Need an alarm clock on me float. Guy in there. Yep. Great little scrappers, I love them. You just get a short day period throughout the year when you can come down for them, so if you get a nice day, or a nice morning, you've got to make the most of it. If the sea comes away or whatever, then the fish just disappear. They follow the shoals of feed offshore. You get your fish, if you're not going to put them back, please dispatch them quickly, because if you're going to eat them, you don't want them jumping about the pier and leave them lying on the pier making a mess. Just nice priest, which is a steak tenderizer, and just give it one clonk, and then that's it gone. Put them in your bag. Well, yes, Frank and John, they've died off there now, haven't they?
7 o'clock in the morning.
7 o'clock.
All quiet.
Yeah, it's low tide, so that coincides with the low tide, and the sun's come up strong, so they tend to die. But hey,
sunglasses on.
Yeah, it's been a canny morning. We've had a few fish, so it's very canny. Good sport, innit?
Good stuff, man.
Champion.
Good.
Well, we've had an hour and 3/4. Fish have gone off, but we can take home 8 for to eat. So good morning, good sport. You should get out and try it. Brilliant. So this is some of the mackerel I caught early this morning. Going to have some for lunch. I actually filleted it down the pier and threw the heads and guts back into the system. Crabs, etc. will feed on those. But when I've come home, I've got the side fillets, and here I've took the bones out down the middle. This is the belly strip from the side here, which I now cut into shape, and that's my bait for the next time I go down on the float. So this is a Pier, which is filleted. Now if you run your finger down you can feel bones down, and you don't want those. So what I tend to do is just put a knife down at an angle down one side and then turn it round on the other side, because you don't want those, when you're cooking it, you don't want those bones to get in your mouth. They're horrible. So then just down that side, and then you can basically pull the bones out in one go. Well, two goes. You don't want those in, that's for sure. Chop that off. And there you go, and that can be thrown away. And then there's your fillet with no bones, ready to grill. These can be wrapped up and put away in the freezer for the next time you go down. So we'll get those prepped for going under the grill. So here's our fillets ready to be grilled. So what I'm going to do, very basic, just put them on the grill. I've got the grill on there now. I'm going to put a bit of salt and then just transfer them to the grill. These shouldn't take long. Keep an eye on them. Put them in. So we'll give them a few minutes, 3 or 4 minutes, turn them over, see what they're like. You can tell how fresh they are because they curl up as soon as you put them in the heat. And there they are, just a few minutes under the grill, turned over once. Lovely fillets. So we'll stick them onto our salad. There it is. So we'll have a little dribble of balsamic. One or two chili flakes and some spring onions, and that's well worth getting up for in the morning, as fresh as you like. We'll enjoy that with a nice bottle of beer. Happy days. Thanks for watching.